Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 39th episode of PandTha Talks.
Hello.
This week, bloody hell, we have a hell of a week. Um, to be honest, you're going to find out whether or not Xbox has actually succeeded in their purchase. And we're going to go over everything from start to finish to do with what happened throughout the process of Xbox's attempt at the purchase of Activision Blizzard up until current day, which includes what happened yesterday, which is the big question on everyone's mind. Did they fail? Did they succeed?
Dun, dun, dun.
Right, let's get into it.
Let's.
So, let's start from the beginning. I had to find multiple articles to cover this, as I was saying to Will just before, because no article covers the entire fucking thing. Like, this article was posted on February 22nd, 2023, and was updated the same day. It is not a complete timeline if you include the fact that there's newer information. So I then had to go find more and so on and so forth. There is no complete documentary of this news. So let's get it all put into one place and hopefully I won't miss anything out.
Well, we could try our best.
Yeah. So,
God, it's the block.
the Xbox Series X. So it all starts in 2022 when Microsoft announced to the world that they will be attempting to acquire Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion. Which even now is an insane amount of money.
Absolutely absurd, is what it is.
Oh yeah, especially considering they purchased ZeniMax Media, which was the main owner, which was the big owner of Bethesda, for 7.5 billion, and that seemed like a lot back then. Like, that was just mental. Anyways, after they announced that they were going to attempt this purchase and that they wanted to go forwards, this is something that has been missed out in this article, so I thought I'm going to add little bits throughout, because it's things that I saw during those times when it was all coming up to fruition, and we did discuss a bit. There were hundreds of tweets from fanboys on both sides regarding this purchase. The fanboys on the against side, though, decided to keep spamming the United States government because they believed it was massively illegal, basically. The fact that it was against competition laws and things such as that America are quite highly ingrained in. So, then we reach April 1st, 2022, when US senators raised concerns over the acquisition. This was many months after, to be honest. If you consider it, January to April's quite a bit of time to sit quiet, but I highly believe that they were biding their time, trying to get as much information as they could regarding it. So,
As you need to.
100%. So, apparently, what happened was 4 of the United States senators, including Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, and Sheldon Whitehouse, sent a letter to the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. These were the people who continued to fight against the deal, even up until yesterday, so we will get back to them a little later. But it outlined concerns that the deal could disenfranchise current Activision Blizzard employees following the massive issue that happened a couple of years ago to do with Activision Blizzard about sexual misconduct and hostile workplace environment. These were really bad during the time, and even now, there's still horrific things that went off there. People were hoping, to be honest, to an extent, that with the acquisition, new management, the actual corporation could change not just its view from the outside, but how it works internally, which would be a lot better for not just the employees, but for the company as a whole. Moving forward again, we are jumping chunks upon months here. August 24th, 2022. Xbox launches a website outlining benefits of the acquisition. I don't actually believe you and me covered this back at the time, Will.
I mean, this was before it started, man. 'Cause
Yeah.
August of last year, we started the start of this year.
Yeah, we started February, didn't we?
Something around there, yeah.
Yeah. Our vision for gaming: more choice, more games for people everywhere. By combining Xbox with Activision Blizzard's skill, knowledge, and amazing legacy of games, we will bring joy and community of gaming to even more players around the world. We want to learn from their creativity, exchange insights and best practices, and empower our new colleagues to bring their visions to the widest possible audience. And today we officially start the work of bringing them groundbreaking games to more platforms and more players than ever before. That was said by CEO Phil Spencer. And I do agree with this for the most part, because Xbox are trying to get games everywhere. We will come back to this statement a little later though. And there is reason for it. So we will come back to that a little later and go fully through that. But that statement in particular, keep it in the back of your mind. So, oh, this is going to be fun. According to Xbox, the acquisition will mean games on more devices, more choices on how to purchase games, and variety for more mobile games. As we know, the cloud systems that Xbox have been pushing for the past couple of years are massive, and when pushed through, could turn out to be something truly amazing. It just depends how far they manage to get it and how well they manage to push it through.
I mean, they've already proven some of these things, considering the amount of Xbox games that are available to PC.
Oh yeah, that's the
So,
thing. PC was one side of it, and then they also managed to get these onto mobile. They're pushing to get them onto smart TVs, any smart device, and pretty much they're just constantly pushing it forward. As it'll be soon that you will just own an Xbox controller and be able to play it on any device. Because, to be honest, their cloud streaming system, as annoying as it is that you need to use a controller, it works. And it works better than PlayStation's. It's got less issues on the latency side and also on the compatibility side. So, it's proven already that it can do it. So, September 1st, 2022. Call of Duty will still launch on PlayStation on the same day. Also Game Pass. Phil Spencer made a point that the new Call of Duty games would still be releasing on PlayStation on the same day it releases on everywhere else. Even if the goal is eventually to debut new Call of Duty as well as Overwatch and Diablo on Game Pass, it would still be pushed to PlayStation. Because, as we stated many times while we were going through this entire set of information, it would severely affect Xbox and Blizzard if they were unable to still pull out from that market. It still has a lot of money in it. Why would you take games away from them when you can be earning an absolute fortune from them? Wouldn't make sense. In another post, Spencer confirmed that PlayStation gamers will receive the new Call of Duty on the same launch day as other platforms, including presumably Game Pass, where first-party Xbox games are released day and date as retail.
And
I
as I've said multiple times before, it doesn't make sense why they would stop giving Call of Duty to PlayStation just because they have purchased Activision.
yeah,
Because that's like a third of the market, and as we've seen from actually the statistics that we've looked over in other videos, quite a lot of the time it's actually over a third of the market,
yeah,
given the amount of players on PlayStation. So it's not like that's going to hit them really hard. As again, as we've said, it just means people will actually be able to play on the console they want to instead of having to play on PlayStation because of the all the extra content that they get for an entire year before
yeah.
anyone else does.
I mean, just a prime example, this deal was still going through and we're still working on it, as you can tell from this video. But even then, it was a case of Xbox was still basically being handed a bit of a lower down amount when it came to Call of Duty games. The most recent one, PlayStation had an exclusive early beta access for the most recent Call of Duty. We do actually, me and Will do actually have something to discuss about that in a bit, but that's just to do with Call of Duty, and if we manage to get to it this time, might turn out to be something for next week. We'll see.
Yeah, this could end up being longer than we even planned it to be.
Yeah, that's why we're tackling this a little earlier than normal.
Yeah,
That
it
and
makes sense.
yeah, that and so we don't have a tired Rory like last week.
Oh, that's funny.
I left all that in, by the way, like you demanded.
Good, 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 good.
September 7th, 2022. This is where the main obstacles started to come into play. PlayStation's Jim Ryan, the CEO of PlayStation at the time, he has since decided to step down. It's not immediate, so he still is CEO for the moment, but he will be stepping down in the soon-to-be future. Called Xbox's Call of Duty promise inadequate on many levels. The first the article's right. It's the first of a series of responses here. There were so many replies over this next couple months, you'll see yourself, in which basically Phil Spencer and Jim Ryan are replying to each other via the media. Because, CEOs and companies are incapable of just giving each other a call and discussing things.
All the phones that they probably have on hand.
Yeah. Oh, it's so crazy. Both Sony and Microsoft make their own phones, yet neither could pick one up. So, this was all around basically the promise that Microsoft had made, or Phil Spencer in particular had made regarding Call of Duty coming to PlayStation. Ryan said publicly, said that the publicly stated promise to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation for 3 years after current agreement is not appealing to PlayStation. After almost 20 years of Call of Duty on PlayStation, their proposal was inadequate on many levels and failed to take account of the impact on our gamers. Which is pretty much what PlayStation tried to push throughout this entire debacle, and continue to do so. Understandably so, this entire purchase proceeded to raise a lot of concerns with the Competitions and Markets Authority in the UK and the FTC in America. Which we're now starting to get to the point where me and Will basically, we weren't around on the scene yet. PandTha Talks didn't even exist. It wasn't even a conceptual idea at this point. But I ended up coming across a few articles about it. I did discuss it briefly with Will, but that was about it. Kind of flew past. But this sort of information is where we started when we first tackled an Xbox post in February of this year. So, October 12th, 2022. Following concerns raised by the UK's Competition and Markets Authority, CMA, as it's known, Xbox says PlayStation is too big to fail. Which, to be brutally honest, it is. It just is. You could not destroy PlayStation by taking away Call of Duty from it. You'd most
Which
likely.
again, it's not getting taken away from them.
No, exactly. But the other thing is.
They're acting like this is going to ruin them, and the only reason Xbox are buying Activision is to like deny them access to the game, and that's just simply not what's going to happen.
No.
Because Xbox aren't that stupid to begin with. Money. They're going to lose out on a lot of it.
Oh, yeah.
If they're spending 70 billion basically on buying Activision, they're going to want to make that back. And if they cut out a third to a half of their market, that's going to take a hell of a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, then the budget would also be smaller for the game, which the game would be even worse than it already is.
While Will's discussing this, I have actually. This will be post editing, so you will see this, but it will be on the screen the marketing shares that we discussed on an earlier episode, because I just think that will show much more of our point regarding this.
I mean, I'll be honest, it's kind of gross how much bigger the market is on PlayStation side than both Xbox and Nintendo in terms of a lot of sales for games, not just Call of Duty. Don't get me wrong, Call of Duty is a huge part of them for Xbox and PlayStation, but I think PlayStation might have more than the both of them combined, or at least near enough.
Yeah, I believe
In
it
terms
does,
of like,
yes.
yeah, in terms of overall sales between any game, it's honestly absurd to look at, and I don't get how they think that they should just be the ones to be focused on for everything, because it's cutting out the rest of the player base. Anyone else that wants to play the game just on a different platform is what's the word for they're basically getting punished for playing on Xbox
Yeah,
by not being given access for content, but to a lot of content for a whole year. By the time that content comes available to them, there's usually another Call of Duty, and
exactly.
you're not really caring about this content that's already been out for a year. You want to go play the new game, in which case you don't get early access to, or at least not before PlayStation does. You miss out on more content again because PlayStation apparently thinks they deserve extra content. And it doesn't end there. There's probably a lot more details that we don't know about that are to do with all of that, and there's probably many things that we don't know they get more than the Xbox do.
No, I'd fully agree. It's, to be honest, it's kind of just a bit of a joke at this point. PlayStation have been doing the exclusives, basically pull and scream the entire time, and Xbox, to be honest, have been more of a share about. As we will discuss in a little bit, there was a situation where, as we've discussed, that PlayStation wouldn't lose access to its Call of Duty. Microsoft even signed a deal with Nintendo Switch and Nintendo themselves to bring Call of Duty to them. So I know that's getting a little bit ahead, but
Imagine they end up somehow finding a way to block access to PlayStation, but they're over here like, yeah, but Nintendo can have it.
yeah, but
Here's some exclusives as well.
but that's the thing. Back in when all this was going off in the first place, because we are over a year on now. A year, 2 days ago, actually, since this happened. All that you'd hear from PlayStation fans: if you want to play this game, go buy a PlayStation. That was all you were ever told. You weren't sympathised with or any of that crap. But the moment it affects them, all of a sudden, we should care about it. We
Yeah,
should all be
and
worrying.
we shouldn't be dipping into our wallets to buy a completely different console to play a game that's only on Xbox.
Exactly. One rule for thee, another for me. Ugh. So, Microsoft's actual response, though, regarding it being too big to fail, was the suggestion that the incumbent, yeah, market leader with clear and enduring market power could be foreclosed by the third largest provider as a result of losing access to one title is not credible. In addition, Xbox said that even if every Call of Duty player on PlayStation switched to Xbox, the PlayStation gamer base remaining would be significantly larger than Xbox.
So essentially, what we were just discussing
Yeah,
about how the market sales are like absurd in comparison.
they just are. Because
Mm.
PlayStation do have some really good exclusive games. No one's going to take that from them. Some of them are not my cup of tea, some of them are not your cup of tea. It's the same around the world. But the ones that you enjoy, you'll find that they are really good quality. They're done really well, as long as they're not called for spoken. Yes, I just had to get that in
Sorry, I was dealing with a cat.
there. It's no problem. Yeah, they're all good as long as they're not called for spoken, pretty much. That's about it.
That's what I come back to, of
Yeah,
course.
that's what I was saying.
No, I heard
October.
about the exclusives. I unfortunately had to jump up and close my kitchen door because my cat, who's only after devouring an entire chicken breast, is apparently still starving to death.
Cats. They're always hungry, even when they're not.
Honestly.
October 31st, 2022. Phil Spencer. Call of Duty will continue to ship on PlayStation as long as there's a PlayStation to ship to. Why wouldn't they? Once again, as admitted by Phil Spencer, the player base on PlayStation would still be larger even if they took every Call of Duty player. Why would you section the market when you can earn more money from all of them combined?
Yeah.
It
I
doesn't
mean,
make sense.
as you were saying a minute ago there about how they have so many different exclusives, that player base alone, with all their extra exclusives they get, whether they're a game you like or not, there's still going to be people that like them, and they have so many of them as well.
Exactly.
But God forbid we get Starfield and they're all like, "Ugh, how
And
dare we have an exclusive?"
all of a sudden, a new Bethesda game, and it's abysmal because it's not on PlayStation.
So it's like they're playing poker and they're holding all their extra cards under the table where we can't see them the moment we put one on the table, you know?
Yeah, pretty much. November 11th, 2022. Xbox offers PlayStation a 10-year deal to keep Call of Duty on the platform.
We discussed this, so we did in one
We
of the
did,
articles.
because it was re-admitted into evidence during the FTC trial later on.
Mhm.
So, what happened basically was that Xbox offered Sony a 10-year deal to keep it on the PlayStation. Sony did not comment on the offer, and it was a 7-year increase over the current 3-year deal in place to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation.
It's because it would just put all the points that they've made beforehand about why it's so bad for PlayStation, just bury them in the dirt.
Yeah,
Because they're worried about them taking the game away from them. And then they're like, well, here's a 10-year guarantee that you'll still have the game. And they're just speechless. They have nothing they can say about it because what can they say?
yeah. I mean, Xbox's argument later down the line, anyways, was that this deal would give PlayStation more than enough time to create a game that is either similar or does what Call of Duty does for PlayStation for themselves. It should not be challenging for the development team and the market leader of video games. Which is a fair point to make, but at the same time, I do find it a little conceited. I do have to admit. We're getting
Unless
into
there's like,
December.
unless there's some significant changes in the next 10 years and like some crazy shit goes down, if this 10-year contract did go through, then I don't see why they would taken away from them even after the 10 years.
Oh no, they probably just re-added like another. They'd just probably do it every like 5 years, just redo the contract.
Unless like 90% of PlayStation players switch to Xbox.
Yeah, at which point they just sort of there like, we don't really need to anymore. We've got what we want. Thanks. December 8th, 2022. The Federal Trade Commission sues to block Xbox Activision Blizzard acquisition. We discussed a lot of this because we kind of tackled it just as this was going into full force. It was quite interesting.
Quite clearly, it did not work.
No. Yeah, that was a fun time. In a press release, the FTC said that Xbox could harm competition in high-performance gaming consoles and subscription services by denying or degrading rivals' access to its popular content. The FTC cited the acquisition of ZeniMax Media as one example of this, and how games like Redfall and Starfield will not be appearing on rival consoles. Well, that's fine. I think the FTC's point here really did not age well because both of those games are hated by Sony fans.
I mean,
Redfall's hated by everyone,
yeah,
but...
I was gonna say, that game did not go well.
No.
It was in shambles, man.
It was an abysmal bloody example.
Such a, like, the clips we saw and the clips we discussed, just the AI to begin with, the physics of the game, the textures, just everything, man.
Oh,
Why
yeah.
that game was just poor.
An internal memo at this time, the Activision Blizzard CEO, Bobby Kotick, told employees that while the lawsuit sounds alarming, the expectation is that the deal will proceed as planned. Are we... I'm going to reference a good YouTuber I like to watch called Count Dankula here. In the business, we call this foreshadowing. December 12th, 2022. Phil Spencer says Sony wants to grow by making Xbox smaller. I don't actually recall this, but I'm now intrigued. I think we didn't tackle this topic.
No, I don't remember hearing anything about this. It's very confusing.
In a slight departure from tone, Spencer struck back at PlayStation's attempt to block the company's acquisition of Activision Blizzard by saying PlayStation wants to protect their dominance by making Xbox smaller. Spencer appeared on the Second Requests podcast, calling Sony the only major opposer to the deal. They have a very different view on the industry than we do. They don't ship their games day and date on PC, and they don't put their games in the subscription when they launch their games, he said. While Spencer previously spent months talking about how Call of Duty would remain on PlayStation, this was met with Jim Ryan calling these overtures inadequate. By hitting back on PlayStation's dominance, Spencer marked a change in tone as the battle over the acquisition continued to intensify. Which is true. I also need to point out what Spencer said here. There's some good points, some bad. Yes, PlayStation do have a very drastic difference in view in comparison to Microsoft. Microsoft want everyone really to be able to access the same thing. That's the reason they were so hell-bent in getting cross-play actually started up. PlayStation were the only actual people that turned around and went, no, we don't want it. They did this for about 3 to 5 years. Eventually it was overthrown because everyone wanted it. So they had to go forward.
Sort of a running theme. Xbox are trying to do things to make gaming better for everyone as a whole and bring the communities together. And PlayStation keep trying to split off and be their own thing. And then complaining about it when they're not flipping involved in something.
Because the way I see it, competition is great because it creates growth. It allows both platforms to grow and try and improve and make everything they can better. But competition does not mean mortal enemy, which I think Sony has got slightly mixed up and crossed those wires. Because they're not trying to like work with and improve and develop, they're just against. A prime example of this, after the crossplay was finally introduced and Sony wanted to finally attempt cloud stream gaming, they actually structured a deal with Microsoft to be able to push to use their systems for cloud service gaming. Because they hadn't got the systems for it, Microsoft already had. They structured a deal for that. Microsoft are happy to lend a hand and help with these things as long as a deal can be made. Sony is very reluctant to work with, and that is where I think they differ majorly. Now we start to get to the part where PandTha Talks actually came up and running. Because we started, if I remember correctly, it was around the 28th of January? Some point around then. And these started on January 5th. And this is why I believe me and Will originally went, why I messaged Will one day and went, do I start a podcast to do with gaming? Because this stuff just riled me. I'm just, sorry, I do apologise for the slight delay here. I'm just trying to check. 22nd of January.
Yeah, that was the first upload. And the way we were working it, that would have been how that would have been a week like late. So that would have been
Yes.
recorded a week before that, about 6 days maybe beforehand. So the 16th maybe.
Yeah, so
when
it'll
that
have been
would be
about the
recorded.
16th. So yeah, that sounds about right. And I do believe we briefly mentioned the UK CMA because that was a major topic for us, especially as things went forwards. So, January 5th, 2023, UK CMA. I keep almost saying CMEA. I do apologise. It's a word thing. UK CMA extends investigation into Xbox's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Citing the complexity of the case, the CMA announced it would extend its investigation into the acquisition by up to 8 weeks to process the amount of evidence it's gathered. Plus, the CMA must go through the response it acquired from the public after reaching out for opinions about the acquisition. The extension means that the final submission date for the CMA's report on whether Xbox's acquisition of Activision Blizzard is negative for the industry is now April 26th rather than its original deadline of March 1st. However, the CMA... It was. It feels like it was even longer ago than this, but I still remember the day that they came back with the answer. Could be completed any time before that date. It wasn't. Spoiler alert, it wasn't.
Spoiler alert, yeah.
And PandTha Talks was officially up and running by this next post. January 30th, 2023. No, it wasn't up and running by 2033. We were up and running well before then. The Last of Us success on HBO proves Sony's merger opposition is baseless. Interesting, but okay. Oh, I remember this. This was Activision's Blizzard's management, basically. They went on a bit of a tweeting spree out of anger against Sony. We didn't cover it because at the time there wasn't much to it, but it was quite amusing. While not an official statement, Activision Blizzard CCO Lulu Cheng Meservey, I can't say that name, just going with that, tweeted at the official FTC Twitter account, citing the success of HBO's adaptation of Sony's The Last of Us on HBO as proof that Sony's opposition to the acquisition is baseless. Sony has an unrivaled war chest of IP, not just in gaming but in TV, movies, and music, which can be developed into games or can market existing games. They said it's no wonder they also continue to dominate as the market leader for consoles in gaming. Sony is the first of us, and they will be just fine without the FTC's protection. They cited the record-breaking viewership for HBO's The Last of Us which is also produced by PlayStation's productions, and Sony Pictures Television as examples of Sony's wide net. They make a very valid point in regards to how many IPs Sony have, not just in gaming but far out. But for me personally, and I think this is probably just best case scenario in general, we prefer to keep it to gaming alone. It's the reason why when I did my calculations a while ago about who owns more companies, and I worked it all out, I only counted gaming. I did not count subsidiaries or anything regarding to do with technology that was other than that. Anything to do with music, TVs, phones, that sort of stuff. It doesn't count in my opinion. Gaming alone was what I cared about. If you want to look at those things, though, do feel free to check them out. They are on Wikipedia, they are fully updated, and the only reason I trust Wikipedia in this sense is because the sources I double checked. So, feel free to check that. February 3rd, 2023. The European Union issues antitrust warning to Microsoft. According to Politico, EU representatives issued a formal warning to Microsoft over its acquisition plans, claiming that Microsoft could be incentivized to keep Call of Duty away from rival consoles. In response, Microsoft said it is listening carefully to the EU's Commission's concerns and are confident that they can address them. With the EU, the UK, and US seemingly critical of the acquisition, scrutiny from the world's top market regulators has only intensified as the deal tries to find a way forward. Now, what we've covered about half of what's gone on so far. If anyone wants to try and take a guess, feel free on whether this deal actually went through. Because I'll tell you what, at this point last year, we felt it looked quite bleak.
Yeah, we weren't really getting any answers at all.
No,
Like
exactly.
it seems like they had quite a heavy roadblock, and we're gonna struggle to get through it.
That's what it felt like for a while. February 8th, 2023. Xbox's acquisition of Activision Blizzard could harm gamers, CMA says. One particular area of concern is cloud gaming, according to the CMA. Microsoft accounts for 60 to 70% of current cloud gaming offerings, and making Call of Duty an exclusive could alter the future of gaming. The CMA also said that making games exclusive to Xbox could substantially reduce the competition between Xbox and PlayStation in the UK, and could result in all gamers seeing higher prices, reduced range, lower quality, and worse service in gaming consoles over time. We actually argued this point because I remember it. The main issue that the UK CMA eventually got to was cloud gaming. That was all they cared about in the end.
Did we not say though that if it weren't for Microsoft, they wouldn't have access to cloud gaming in full stop?
Yeah,
Because
there
they
was
literally gave them access.
yeah, there was so much to do with that. And then at the same time, when they eventually got to Sony, it was like, okay, let's just tackle this one at a time. Higher prices. Sony was the one that raised prices from £60 to £70 as of recent, which is Square Enix working on the Sony. Reduced range. How much range are you expecting? It's Call of Duty. Lower quality. I'd just like to add the fact that pretty much quality is just really 50-50 on games. You'll never always get a good game, always get a bad game.
There's always problems with games, but like when we've been looking at consoles and the latest releases, we're seeing a lot of stuff being locked at 30 frames and not being recommended to push for 60 frames.
Yeah.
Like 60 frames is a must because 60 frames on its own is bad, but if you're gonna try like force or recommend a lower than 60, you've got to question the quality of game you're being given.
Mm.
Because
I
you can
mean,
have an absolutely amazing game to play, but like if it's 30 frames, is there a point?
Starfield had that for the Xbox and PlayStation. For the Xbox, sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't get a PlayStation.
No, it took me a second there.
No, I know, and
But
I don't get how people could play it on to be honest.
no, neither do I. But they're working apparently on resolving that. But we shall see as time goes. Worst servicing gaming consoles over time. I can't really say there's been any worse servicing gaming consoles. I'd say that some consoles or company may or may not have a worse online service. PlayStation. Um, I'd argue that possibly one system's better than the other, which PlayStation's system is definitely stronger than the Xbox. That is true. But it's what you want out of a system. It's each individual person. It's not something that you can just go, oh yeah, get a PlayStation. If the person wants an Xbox and the Xbox will do what they want it to do and has the games they want, go for it. The fact that I even have to say has the games they want makes me fucking sad. Games should be everywhere, not on a single platform.
Yep.
I will die on that bridge.
I know you're a very, very big fan of emulation, so
Oh yeah,
you
emulation's
tend to
great.
not have too many problems.
February 21st, 2023. Xbox signs 10-year deal to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo and Nvidia. Didn't know about the Nvidia part. Oh wait, no. It's not to do with them signing a deal for Nvidia. It's just the person who titled this was a bit dumb. Microsoft President Brad Smith confirmed that the company signed a binding 10-year contract to bring Call of Duty games to Nintendo device owners the same day as Xbox, with full feature and content parity. Parity? Parity. By the way, that's more than what PlayStation's doing without owning Microsoft Blizzard. This deal is meant to highlight that Xbox's acquisition would not silo Call of Duty to the Xbox ecosystem, and what better way than bringing Call of Duty to a platform the series has aggressively ignored in the past. It's true, and with valid reason. In particular, the promise to deliver Call of Duty games to Nintendo gamers with full content parity feels especially ambiguous given Nintendo's hardware performance issues. I am genuinely concerned about that, but we'll have to wait
I
and see.
wonder if current new Call of Duty is going to be released on it,
That's a good
or if
question.
they might wait till next year because this is like halfway through development.
I do reckon, yeah, it'd probably be like next year, year after. So Call of Duty actually might take a 2-year hiatus thinking about it. Because they're gonna have to build and rebuild the engine or adapt the engine to be able to work on Nintendo Switch, which will be fun. On the same day, Microsoft announced a 10-year deal to bring all of its PC games to Nvidia GeForce Now streaming service, including Activision Blizzard titles. This is a direct response to the UK CMA's concern regarding cloud gaming, as Nvidia is a major rival in the service. With the agreement, Nvidia dropped its concerns over the acquisition, clearing away at least one major tech company from the opposing deal. And boy, did Nvidia fucking drop their concern. They argued against the CMA publicly on Twitter. It was quite amusing. So, we are now caught up with this article. That has just taken 45 minutes. I knew this would be long.
Yeah, we already knew we were in for a long one, sir.
Yeah. So, what I will say, this will be the only topic for this week.
Yeah,
It's
with
just the
good
way it's
reason.
gonna be. Yeah. But I think it's worth covering it all in a single place so that it's the complete story of what's happened.
Yeah, it has been split up over a lot of episodes, so it'd be a lot of work to figure out what's happened.
Yeah. And by the way, finding these articles to get a complete story has been an absolute nightmare. So just, I apologize if there is anything missing. I've tried to include everything I can. Microsoft Activision Blizzard timeline, more obstacles to resolve. This started in May of this year, so we've skipped a couple months ahead. We've gone from February to May. Big tech fame Microsoft's Activision Blizzard $69 billion deal is hovering preciously on the edge of a precipice.
As it did the entire time of the 21-month span.
Yes. The Microsoft Activision acquisition timeline has partaken in enough controversial conundrums to last for a long time. Microsoft's acquisition of Activision was considered to be the largest video game acquisition in history. Right on the cusp of completion, UK's antitrust regulator, Competition and Markets Authority (CMA), blocked Microsoft's biggest acquisition ever. Yeah, right at the end, after the CMA actually started complimenting them the week or two before, they blocked it. We covered this. I was livid.
Whoa. All cash transaction?
Yeah, it's an all-cash transaction valued at $68.7
Where's
billion.
where's the guy that pays in pennies? How many pennies is that?
Oh, fucking hell. Yo, that's a good question.
I think you just need to add 2 zeros, right? I'm pretty sure it's just going to be 6.8 trillion.
Yeah, pretty much. There you go. Oh, bloody hell. In the wake of skirting critical scrutiny from antitrust regulators worldwide, what is the latest news on Microsoft Activision? It's not the latest at all, but let's go along with it. At the helm of Xbox gaming console is tech giant Microsoft, $200 billion company. That could lay the first stone of cloud gaming. We all know this. We've all been through this.
They did lay the first stone.
Yeah,
They are the first stone.
pretty
You
much.
remove them and the whole thing will collapse.
Right. So this is February, March. The EU indicated approval of the Microsoft Activision Blizzard acquisition. Microsoft agreements with Nintendo and Nvidia assuaged the regulators' concern. The EU extended its deadline from the April 25th to May 22nd on seeing continual remedies from tech giants that soothed the EU's worries. The Microsoft Activision acquisition lawsuit, alleged by the group of plaintiffs, won a dismissal. So in March 2023, they stopped it. They got rid of it.
More like put it on pause.
Well, the EU basically agreed Microsoft can go ahead. That's just the EU, though. That doesn't include the UK or America. On March 24th, the CMA backtracked on its original stance and shocked Sony.
That lasted long.
I remember this because you and me were having a good chuckle.
Was that 1 or 2 days?
Well, this was the UK. If you remember, it was backing Sony, and then like the week after, it backtracked entirely. The authority no longer believed that the $69 billion deal would lessen the competition in the console market or prove that Microsoft would bridle Call of Duty from rival platforms. If you remember this entire situation, Sony was kicking off to the fullest.
I'm pretty sure no one listened to a word they said.
Oh no. While the CMA was still concerned about the implications of the Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal, Sony called out the authorities' reversal as unprecedented, irrational, and surprising. On March 28th, Japan approved of the acquisition.
That's a bit random, but okay.
Well, Sony's based in Japan. That's where the headquarters are.
Fair enough, yeah.
Which is even sadder for
them. Kind of came out of nowhere.
April. This is like all we get here then. April. South Africa joined the Legion of Countries
It's
Approving.
literally just everyone saying yes in
Pretty
this
much.
paragraph here. It's just everyone going, yeah, that's fine.
Well, you'd hope. South Africa joined the Legion of Countries approving Microsoft Activision
It is a mouthful to say, and as we've had to say it
acquisition.
like 100 times.
Yeah, I know, I'm
Activision
starting to loop.
acquisition.
Timeline after Saudi Arabia, Brazil, Chile, Japan, and Serbia. But on April 26th, the CMA once again blocked the deal on the moral grounds of harming competition in the nascent cloud gaming market of the UK. This was where the issue began.
I feel like this was like constantly their only point.
Yes, it was.
Like they were instantly shut down on them saying that they're going to take Call of Duty away from them when they said about the 10-year deal. And
Yeah,
the only other point they ever really made was about cloud gaming, which again, if it weren't for
Nvidia.
Microsoft to begin with, they wouldn't even have access to it.
Yeah, and then Nvidia came out and basically
Yeah.
started screaming around on Twitter against the CMA and FTC regarding it.
It just doesn't make sense how they constantly just brought up the same point and they kept blocking it just to then not do it again.
Yeah, it was just dumb, mate. It
So
really
it's like a
was.
game of ping pong.
Yeah,
Cloud
except they had
gaming was the
multiple
ball.
balls. On a final note, the acquisition is not yet burnt to cinders. The EU is scheduled to announce its final verdict on May 22nd, 2023, while the US Federal Trade Commission, FTC, will be taking the Microsoft lawsuit to court in August. Microsoft is confident of a positive outcome, whilst already preparing to appeal the CMA, closely with the Activision Blizzard leaders. The large looming speculations if the merger will succeed have been haunting the Microsoft Activision acquisition timeline, but can only be answered in time.
They've
This,
finally been answered.
yeah, we have an answer, but not
Yes.
yet.
But what is the answer?
You're not going to find out just yet.
Such an
Well,
asshole.
okay,
Oh, well.
maybe you are. The reason we've done it like this, by the way, is basically because we are missing a couple months of information. But to be brutally honest, in those couple months, all that happened was Microsoft kept trying to appeal it, and it was basically just a lot of back and forth for arguments. There wasn't much coming from it.
Ping pong.
Yeah, it was pretty much just ping pong. So here we start to finally get into the juicy bits. This is what happened recently.
The big reveal.
Yes. UK clears Microsoft's acquisition of Activision. Why switch it on me now?
No, they've been constantly switching it, and we need a counter on screen or something of how many times Activision acquisition has been said.
We
Because
do,
oh
don't we?
my god, it's I see it again down below.
Yeah, and just even worse, there's an article above this that we're covering just after. I have to scroll up after this bit. Bloody hell. Right, so the UK has cleared the acquisition, making sure it can't have a stranglehold on cloud gaming. Microsoft is now ready to complete its 68.7 billion. Oh, actually, there is something major we are missing here that I need to add. I realised I've completely missed it. The FTC, seeing as we covered it so much, and obviously now it's been blanked, saying that they can go forward after beating the CMA. The FTC lost in court against Microsoft. They completely lost.
They were basically trying to prove if there was Microsoft acquiring Activision was going to be bad or not for rivals, right?
Yeah.
That was their whole purpose.
Yeah, it was.
So basically, they found absolutely no evidence that this deal was going to be bad.
Yeah, exactly. There was a couple of weeks ago, actually, we released a video, episode 36, about the FTC leaks. The reason these leaks kept happening is because people were incompetent on both Sony's part and Microsoft's part, uploading documentation with black marker, which when scanned you could read underneath it.
God, no.
Just uploading documents to the internet without them being secured. It was dumb as hell. But that's how we found out a lot of information. The FTC lost. The FTC said they're going to be reappealing. They may have already done so and lost again. That's how it feels. So we now move on. So, anyways, now that I've covered that, Microsoft is now ready to complete its $68.7 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard. The UK's Competition and Markets Authority, CMA, which remained the barrier, has finally approved the record-breaking deal. The CMA and
Record-breaking indeed.
it fucking is. The CMA announced its decision to clear the Activision Blizzard deal on October 13th. Yes, yesterday we were waiting. We actually mentioned it last week because we were going to cover this shit.
I was actually in the middle of work yesterday when you sent me that text, so I just quickly looked at my phone and just saw that message and just thinking to myself, oh shit.
It's finally done. After completing its latest investigation, the agency concluded that the merger wouldn't harm the cloud gaming market and called Microsoft's concession a game changer that will promote competition. Basically, what has happened over time, Microsoft has worked closely with the CMA to make changes to their deal that will help basically usher in competition for cloud gaming, which will make the UK's cloud gaming infrastructure very interesting over the next 10 to 15 years, I think.
Let's be honest, after this deal, everything's going to be interesting. Like how the next Call of Duty, a few Call of Duties are going to work is going to be interesting. What Microsoft ends up deciding to do, good or bad,
Oh
if
yeah,
if if either.
I
There's
mean,
a lot of things we're going to be keeping close eye on.
100% there are. After we've gone through this a little bit, I'm actually just gonna discuss something that you and me, we've spoke about a few times privately, but never public. So I thought it'd be a good thing to cover in this. Despite initially blocking the deal earlier in this year, the regulator changed its stance after Microsoft restructured the deal and decided to sell cloud gaming rights for all existing and new Activision Blizzard games released over the next 15 years to Ubisoft.
Just pull Ubisoft into this.
Yeah, I know, right?
Okay.
Under this agreement, the French publisher. Well, don't worry, Ubisoft. I found out today I can make you not French. I can de-Frenchify the French.
Oh god.
Under this agreement, the French publisher will be able to offer this content to UK customers under any business model, and Microsoft won't be able to foreclose products on its Xbox cloud gaming platform or control licensing terms for rival services. With the sale of Activision's cloud streaming rights to Ubisoft, we've made sure Microsoft can't have a stranglehold over this important and rapidly developing market. CMA CEO Sarah Cardell said in a statement, as cloud gaming grows, this intervention will ensure people get more competitive prices, better services, and more choice. However, Cardell warned other businesses and their advisors that the tactics employed by Microsoft are no way to engage with the CMA. Microsoft had the chance to restructure during our initial investigation, but instead continued to insist on a package of measures that we told them simply wouldn't work. Dragging out procedures in this way only wastes time and money. We now have all regulatory approvals necessary to close, and we look forward to bringing joy and connection to even more players around the world. Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick said in an email to all employees, adding that we're excited for our next chapter together with Microsoft and the endless possibilities it creates for you and our players. Microsoft President Brad Smith noted that the company has closed the final regulatory hurdle to close this acquisition. It's such a mental time. It,
Yep. There's going to be a ton of changes,
yeah,
and there's going to be a lot going on.
I mean,
It might
here's a
it might
start.
take a while for things to kick in, but once they do, I think we're going to see a lot of things changing.
Microsoft closes Activision Blizzard deal 20 months after announcement. Spencer asks Kotick to remain CEO of ABK until 2024. So, in 2024, he's going bye bye. They're restructuring entirely, it seems. Can't really
Uh,
fault them either. What I was actually
bye
going
bye.
to yeah, what I was going to say earlier when we were discussing this bit about the deal being blocked and over the next 15 years. Did Ubisoft think it was? Let me just find it quickly. Microsoft concession, game changer that will promote competition. With it all being said, to do with cloud gaming, a lot of us might not use cloud gaming currently, and me and Will have discussed things like this a bit over time, and we personally don't use it very often. We can see the use of it, and we can see in the future it could actually be quite good. But at the moment, it's not in a place where we'd be able to utilize it to what we want it for. It's needing time and development.
The only cloud version of anything that we would use is on Steam, the cloud saves,
Yeah,
and that's about it. And they are very helpful because it means you can uninstall a game and reinstall it, still have your saves. You can change your device and still have saves. But
yeah,
honestly, there's not much use for it for us right now.
no, exactly. Um, I would also just quickly like to jump back over here. Remember, I said we were coming back to this very important quote later.
Yep,
I'm just going
it's
to
time.
reread it just to add a bit more context of what I was on about. By combining Xbox with Activision Blizzard's skill, knowledge, and amazing legacy of games, we will bring the joy and community of gaming to even more players around the world. We want to learn from their creativity, exchange insights and best practices, and empower our new colleagues to bring their visions to the widest possible audience. And today we officially start the work of bringing their groundbreaking games to more platforms and more players than ever before. Now, the bit I really want you to focus on: new colleagues and best practices. Activision's needs to change some of these things more than anything else. Microsoft, you do not want to be learning their practices considering the sexual claims about
Yeah,
their workplaces.
yeah.
Yeah, he should have really been careful about what he said there. Anyways, let's cover this last bit because we got something fun to look forward to shortly. Shortly after the UK's Competition and Markets Authority cleared the Activision Blizzard deal, Microsoft officially closed the biggest deal ever acquisition of the games industry. It is followed by Take-Two's $12.7 billion of Zynga, as one team will learn, innovate, and continue to deliver on our promise to bring the joy and community of gaming to more people. Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer said in a statement, "We'll do this in a culture that strives to empower everyone to do their best work, where all people are welcome and is centered on our ongoing commitment of gaming for everyone. From now on, Microsoft will be a wholly owner of companies and studios like Activision Publishing, Blizzard Entertainment, World of Warcraft, Diablo, Overwatch, StarCraft, King, Candy Crush Saga, Treyarch, Infinity Ward, High Moon Studios, Call of Duty, Toys for Bob, Crash
What?
Bandicoot, Spyro Remastered, and Call of Duty." Never knew Toys for Bob worked on Call of Duty, but the others, yeah. I'm just happy Crash and Spyro are with a different company.
Remasters as
Oh,
well.
they were good actually. The remasters, I quite enjoyed them. Today we can now begin the work of bringing Activision Blizzard King's iconic and groundbreaking games to Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass, Microsoft noted. Following the completion of the deal, Bobby Kotick will remain the CEO of Activision Blizzard until the end of the year. Phil Spencer has asked me to stay on as CEO of ABK, reporting to him, and we have agreed that I will do that through the end of 2023, he said in an email to employees. We both look forward to working together on a smooth integration for our teams and players. We've already been through the timeline, thank you.
Yep.
So, what do I have on this next slide that possibly actually means something to people? I think it's
A
probably
nuke virus.
Oh no, I have this.
Dear God, what is that?
This, my friends, is the chart that shows every studio under Microsoft. Before Xbox Activision Blizzard was purchased, it was just down this line here. So just these two here was what they had before. Now they
So
have
they
all this
essentially
as well.
just doubled.
They overdoubled.
Jesus.
I wanted to show this because this, in my opinion, is vital information. So, they had Xbox Games Studios, which is 343 Industries, Compulsion Games, Psychonauts, unannounced IP. Wait, what? Wait, is this some game information as well? I didn't know they've got. Oh, yeah, they've got an announced IP coming. Yeah, they did say. CFE's Everwild, that's rare. Hellblade, Project Maria, Playground Games, Mojang, In Exile, Obsidian, The Coalition, Perfect Dark, Forza Motorsports, World's Edge, Undead, Xbox Game Studios Publishing, and Xbox RTG. Pardon me. Then we have Bethesda, which, once again, they are cooperating with each other and they're sharing roadmaps and much more. They'll all be able to work quite closely together and get assistance. It's not going to be companies struggling and needing to pull each other in just inside Activision Blizzard or just inside Bethesda. If they need help from another industry, they can just go, Microsoft, do you have a company that would, a studio that would be good to help us with this? Yeah, sure, take these guys, they will assist. It will
It's
allow
gonna
a lot more.
hopefully really improve performance of games by like tenfold.
That's the hope.
Because like, if we regrettably mention once again the performance of games in 2023.
For spoken.
Fuck's sake.
I hate that game.
It has been horrific to say the least. So with all these companies all being able to assist each other where needed, not like force their way into each other and say they should be doing things this way or that way, but if asked, provide assistance to help with something they might be struggling with that's gonna like really downgrade the performance of the game, and instead upgrade it. Like we could hopefully see some crazy improvements over the next couple of years, and hopefully over the next load of game releases.
Yeah. The other big thing that I think of, and this is just a guess, this isn't solid, this isn't confirmed, but this is something I think could work.
This is a
There are a
patented
lot of people.
Rory theory.
Yeah. There are a lot of people working for Activision Blizzard that have probably only worked on Call of Duty games, for example.
Yeah, we
And
did
they're
actually
probably-
discuss this.
Yeah, we've discussed it a lot, but just think now. They could realistically go, are there any other jobs at any of the other studios within Microsoft? I could jump
Yeah.
into one of them and I could do something I've never done before, challenge myself in a new way, attempt to do something new. That would probably be massive. And you could start seeing some proper work and maybe even see Activision Blizzard trying something that has never been done before. And that I hope for, truly. But
The white boxes at the bottom, is that saying estimated staff?
that does say estimated staff, yes.
So they've not just more than doubled.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
4,800 staff, and they're bringing on board another 18,000 staff
Wait,
minimum.
4,800 staff.
For
Oh yeah,
4.8
yeah,
k is what they had, and they're now bringing on board over 18,000 more.
yeah. It's crazy. I mean, King
That is,
alone had 2.5k plus. All these are plus.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So
these two are
they've basically
plus.
like the
These are
size of their
plus with
company.
estimation.
The size of their company has minimum times by 5.
Yeah,
Not just double, not triple, 5 times larger
yeah.
with the amount of staff now. So I think you could be right, but the amount of people they're bringing on board, there could be a lot of people wanting to switch over to something else, and maybe it could work better for them as well. Because, like we said, we did discuss it a lot. How these people in Activision and working on Call of Duty have only been working on Call of Duty, and they've been doing the same thing over and over, and it gets mundane. Things
It
like
does.
that get really tedious and boring. So you could be onto something there. We could see like some big changes going on. We could see a lot of staff moving around. We could see a lot of new people working on a lot of new games. And there could be some really good releases coming up out of those. So over the next couple of years, there could be some really crazy stuff happening.
That is my hope. That is honestly my hope. But sadly, we can't say for certain. It's
It
what I
took a
hope
while as
for
well
them.
before anything happens.
Yeah, it's what I hope for them. But you cannot say for certain. Also, these staff estimations are all of July 2023. Activision Blizzard has officially has a combined staff count of 17,000 plus,
Yeah,
which
and
is
that's from
crazy.
this graph.
Yeah, exactly. But I wanted to show this because I thought this was the biggest thing, in my opinion. This came from. Oh well, this was exclusive to this guy apparently. Not
No, no
anymore.
exclusives.
Don't you know I'm against exclusivity?
Uh,
But no, this it's. I'm hoping for the best going forwards. This could be one of the greatest things to happen to gaming. Or, on the other hand, as much as I've praised it and gone, there are good benefits to it, I've also said there are some negatives. And what I would like to just say, out of concern, because this is a lot of power to hand a single company,
oh yeah.
do not fuck this up. Because if Microsoft fucks this up, there will be no redemption.
Given the history of the things they've done for gaming as a whole, I have faith.
I have faith,
But you
but
still
I
have
will
worry.
yeah, I will forever have my skeptic side there.
Skepticism.
Yeah, my skepticism is not going anywhere.
And no one can fault you for that.
With how gaming is in 2023, and we're coming into 2024 in the next 2 months,
Already,
having.
by the way.
Yeah, I know, that's just mental. Having skepticism is needed for any purchase. And also, I would just like to throw in a last little thing before we move off this. It's complete out the blue, but I'd just like to tackle a company that left Activision Blizzard about a year or two ago. A lot of people know them because they also left Xbox and went to Bungie. Went to Activision Blizzard and then left on their own. Bungie, if you didn't get from my fuck up. This company created Destiny and also worked quite heavily on Halo originally. Now, Destiny 2 was one of my favourite games at one time, and they fucked it up badly after they left. The free to play system just turned to shit. Now, I'm going to say this outright. If you want to see a free to play game done correctly, and I'm not sponsored by them, it's just I fucking love the game because it's free to play done right and you do not have to pay a penny for new content or anything else. Go play Warframe. Leave Destiny 2 in its fucking ashes. when I
Yeah,
used
me
to.
and me and my friend played Destiny 2, and this is the free to play time,
Yeah,
and it was all. I did not enjoy my time at all. It was so boring, and
it's
it
yeah.
felt like so slowly, continuously upgrading my weapons by point 0.1 damage, and it just felt like a waste of time.
Did I
To
ever tell you why I stopped playing when it became free to play?
don't think so.
Basically, before I moved over, because basically what happened was, when I played on Blizzard, you had to buy the DLC. So I had all the DLC. I played through them all. I really enjoyed it. The story was
Hmm.
really enjoyable. Anyways, it then said it was moving to Steam free to play. It's like, oh, okay, no problem. It moved me over to Steam for free. I can deal with that. I got my character, everything. Logged in, day one, all these new players are stronger than me.
Rory,
Yeah?
uh, Destiny 2, the final ship plus annual pass, coming 27th of February 2024, £84.
Yeah,
This is
they charge an
DLC.
absolute fortune now.
This is DLC.
I know.
The
They
hell?
and the thing is they do this for every DLC now and they have fucked up their entire community. They destroyed it because they built trust up for so long, did so well, and then they destroyed it with their last DLC.
Destiny 2 Lightfall annual pass is
Yep.
usually £80, currently on 50% sale.
If I'm right, it's Lightfall that's got them destroyed.
Then you've got Beyond Light as a DLC, usually
Or is it
£25.
Beyond Light?
I
I
mean,
know it's one of the two.
Lightfall is £80, so I can see that one being the case.
Lightfall, mostly negative 3,372.
That's crazy.
Lightfall on its own without the annual pass, 7,000 now, 393 mostly negative reviews. It was abysmal. It
I'm
was
just
so good.
scrolling down here, looking at the prices of all the DLCs. Like,
Oh yeah,
this is ridiculous.
this is not how free-to-play games work. Now, the reason
No.
I brought this up entirely is because, as I said, they were an ex-company of Activision Blizzard. They were kept kind of under wraps. The reason I've recommended Warframe, on the other hand, Destiny 2 is charging you for your what's it called? For DLC, for more story content. Warframe will only charge you for cosmetics or if you want to skip some grinding. But you can earn the in game premium currency for free without having to spend money.
That's how free to play games should be, because you're always going to have those people that come on the games like that. They don't want to spend a long time grinding it, and so they will buy things. And there's loads of
Yeah,
people do that. Or maybe there's something they just really like. For example, cosmetic skin,
yeah,
which
that is
is like
mostly.
extremely popular in games at the minute. It's just skins.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
some skins in a lot of games kind of have a slight advantage because they're maybe camo or have like a different sight if it's on a gun or something like that that can give you a very slight advantage. But all in all, doesn't really make much difference.
Yeah,
But majority of skins are typically just cosmetic, and there are a lot of stuff that's nice that gets released, and you are not forced to buy these. You don't need to buy these. It's only a want, and if you're a gamer, that's what you do. You want to put money into games. You want to buy skins because you like them, and that then in turn helps the developers and keeps them being able to continue working on the game, continue bringing updates out for the game, and improving it and giving you more to do and more content.
well, what I'm going to say about Warframe, just briefly, because I don't want to sit on this for too long. If you have never tried it, pick it up, give it a try. It's all free to play. It is a hell of a learning curve, but it is fascinating to get into. They recently, this is how well this company is doing money wise and everything, and how well they've done just on basically keeping the game up and running and people buying from cosmetics and skipping ahead with their stuff like that. They have recently announced something called, I think it's Warframe 1918, and it is 1999. Sorry, and basically it's based in the year 1999, just before Y2K happened, and a load of stuff's going off. They've announced they showed the trailer, they've put an announcement out, but we don't know much else. And it looks fascinating. And if Warframe's anything to go by, it'll be really interesting to see. But they also have a load of other things that they're working on in the spare time. And it's a truly free-to-play game that I think anyone can get some good hours out of. So yeah, that's all I really wanted to say about Warframe. It's just because comparing the two, it wins by 100 miles. Anyways, that's everything I have for this week. I don't know about you, Will.
I think we leave it there, and anything we can
That's for
think
the
of,
best.
we save it for next week because it's been packed full as it is.
Oh yeah,
Let's not drag it out too much.
that sounds like a plan. How long do you think it's been though before we end?
80 minutes.
Bang on.
Hey, I'm not
Well,
good.
that was
No,
impressive.
don't read it. Don't read it.
And 30 seconds.
You son of a bitch.
Anyways.
Never leave me in my glory.
Yeah. But no, we hope everyone enjoyed this episode. We know it's been a lot longer than normal. There's been a lot more to cover, but we hope that this in-depth dive into Microsoft Blizzard, as well as our opinions on it, will be of some use to people and be of some interest.
And huge props to Rory for getting as much information as he could.
I want to cry.
He put a lot of work into this episode. He was very passionate about this topic.
I've been since Feb.
Absolutely, I would say he's well chuffed with himself.
We'll see.
Well, hopefully it all goes well, and hopefully everyone enjoys. And I suppose we will find out tomorrow. But hopefully everyone did enjoy, and hopefully everyone is happy with the information that we did come out with. I certainly am. I really enjoyed this topic, and going over everything as well felt really good. It was really fun.
Agreed. But anyways, in that case, thank you all for watching. We hope you've all enjoyed. If you have, feel free to hit the like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what you're most interested in about regarding the Xbox acquisition. And if there's anything else you'd like us to cover, please feel free to leave it as a comment in either TikTok or YouTube or whatever. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.
See you again, guys.